Hi everyone, I'm John C. Morley, the host of the JMOR Tech Talk Show and Inspirations for Your Life. Well, hey guys, good evening, and shall I say happy Halloween to everyone. It's great to be with you today. On October 31st, you're tuned into the JMOR Tech Talk Show. It's great to be with you today on Halloween. If you have not figured out what you're going to be for Halloween, well, it's a little too late. All right, guys. If you are coming here for the first time, I want to take this opportunity to say welcome and thank you for joining me. If you're coming back, I want to take the opportunity to say thank you. And of course, welcome back to the JMOR Tech Talk Show. Hey, guys, if you're thirsty, you're parched, or maybe you want a snack or something sweet or something salty or tart or whatever, chocolatey, feel free to go get that. I have my RO water here. And it is very delicious and very cold. All right, so let's kick this show off. By the way, guys, do you know we have about not too many more. We have only about 8 episodes left, and we'll be done with series 4. That means we'll be on the air for 4 years straight, and we'll be going to our 5th year. So really excited about that. All right, so great to have you here with me. Let's go ahead and kick this show off right now. All right. Okay. But before we do that, don't forget to check out believemeachieve.com for, of course, more of my amazing, inspiring creations. All right, guys. So again, it is great to have you here on the JMOR Tech Talk Show. I do lots of different shows, so sometimes just slip on what show we're on, but we are on the JMOR Tech Talk Show. But you can get the Inspiration for Your Life show by visiting believemeachieve.com. You can get short form content, long form content. You can get this show, other shows, articles, and much more. All right, guys. So welcome, innovators and future makers, to the JMOR Tech Talk Show with your host, me, John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, engineer, marketing specialist, video producer, podcast host, coach, graduate student, and yes, lifelong learner. Today's episode, great title. It's called Control, Alt, Impact. Yeah. 14 breaks and breakthroughs that are rocking tech this week. Is your front row seat right now to the most earth-shaking stories defining our digital world. From global deals to cyber meltdowns, AI revolutions to tech at the edge, each headline is a story that rewires the future right now, right before your very eyes. Are you ready, guys? So plug in for insight, inspiration, and the truth behind the real trends. Are you ready for number 1? Number 1 is global deal. Privacy debate. So 60 plus nations joined forces in a historic cybercrime treaty seeking to halt digital villains. But activists are sounding the alarm, questioning if new safety comes at the cost of basic privacy. Is the world trading personal freedom for a promise of security? Maybe, guys. I think sometimes people are willing to give up their security because they don't think they're really giving up much. But again, over 60 countries inking a historic cybercrime treaty in Hanoi, aiming to protect trillions from sophisticated digital attacks. But as activists raise the red flags about surveillance and rights, it's a balance tipping between safety and freedom. And I think sometimes we go too far to one direction. We need to make sure it's balanced, because if it's not balanced, then, well, guys, so many things can happen. Not just talking about security, but also talking about things like tyranny and also stuff like, our country and what's happening and what is the greater good for all concerned. I think that's a very important thing for all of us to understand. But I know sometimes people just, push the panic button. Why? Well, because they think that that's what they need to do to get to the next step. That's what they think they need to do. But it might not necessarily be exactly what they need to do. All right. All right. Let's move on to point number 2. Oreo's AI ad revolution. Oreo's parent company just unleashed a $40 million AI tool that supposedly halves ad costs overnight. Snack giants are rushing in now, and campaigns are smart. They claim fast and fiercely efficient. But what happens to creative flavor when algorithms rule? Well, I think we get some unbiased data, hopefully, that is able to work on the premises of what we would expect, okay, in a truth setting. Yeah, a truth setting. That's a really cool one there. So Mondelez, as I said, dropped $40 million on the generative AI tool, slashing marketing expenses by up to what they claim 50%. The snack rivals, Kraft, Heinz, and Coke, are in the game now too. The future of food advertising is getting very fierce, fast, cheap, and AI-powered is coming soon to screens near you. But, a lot of people say to me, John, I'm tired of AI. Okay, so you're tired of AI ads, but yet you're still responding to AI ads. So I'm missing something here. You don't like the AI ad, but yet you're responding to it. So help me, because that's a real challenge, I think. All right. So number 3, Meta and TikTok, well, they face fines. Again, the European Union is now cracking down. Meta and TikTok may pay dearly for holding back public data and missing illegal content. With fines threatening millions, tech giants must finally play by the rules. It's about time, or risk losing it big time. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't expect. But the European Union cracking down is serious business. And the European Commission says that TikTok broke the rules by failing to give researchers easy access to public data and not policing illegal posts. If they don't fix it, fines could hit 6% of annual global sales. Whoa. The fight for the platform accountability just got real, and I think people got scared. So maybe your question is, what is 6% of Meta's gross sales? Does anybody know what their gross sales are? So 6% of Meta's sales are $164.5 billion. So what is 6% of $164.5 billion? Are you ready? Is everybody sitting down? Yes, it is not a pretty picture. What is 6% of 164 billion? Does anybody want to take a guess at what that is? If we were to figure that out, it's pretty easy. It's $9.87 billion. Oh, wow. Hate to be them. That's all I have to say. Hate to be them. So, more and more things are starting to alert people to, what's going on with trends and things like this. But the fight for platform accountability just became real. See, when we get people to dip into their pockets and have to pay out that money, they start to pay attention to what's going on in the world. And hopefully, they'll change their ways. Number 4, guys, Apple's app fees are unfair. A game-changing UK court ruling calls Apple's App Store fees excessive. Refunds worth millions may be on the menu right now, signaling global trouble for tech's biggest commission collector. Now, this has been happening, guys, for a very, very long time, but it's just starting to become an issue. So Apple loses the UK App Store lawsuit, and the tribunal finds Apple's commissions unfair, and hundreds of millions in damages could follow. Ooh, I would not want to be Apple right now. See, a lot of these companies, they play these games, and they think they can get by. But then guess what? They really can't, because they're going to get hit really hard. Number 5, guys, Google's getting sued again, and this time they're getting sued over data. Yeah, no surprise. Google is under fire after consumers allege secret data collection. Even with tracking turned off, billions in damages could follow, fueling fresh fights for transparency in the big tech world. And this isn't just today, guys. This is going back, quite a long time. So Google faces, are you ready? Google faces a $2.36 billion privacy payout. It's like we think the European Union's leaving them alone, and then we think they're not interested in money, but then they go back and sock them again. After a $425 million jury verdict, U.S. consumers want Google to forfeit billions more for secretly collecting app data, even when tracking was disabled. Google denies any wrongdoing, I'm sure they do, and plans to appeal this. But Google's got a lot of money. And just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean that you shouldn't do what's right. I just have that thing. We've been talking a lot about this on my other show about, doing what's right, even when no one is watching. That's what this whole week's master topic was on that we just ended a little while ago. Do what's right, even when no one else is watching. I think that's a very hard thing to realize for some people. If we can do what's right when no one else is watching, our character will be shaped and molded, and we're going to be the last one standing because we're full of integrity. Number 6, guys. Atlas browser's security flaw. OpenAI's Atlas browser surfs for you, but a critical security weakness puts your passwords and secrets, unfortunately, at risk. Innovation meets caution as AI's convenience collides with, unfortunately, guys, vulnerability. And there's always going to be trade-offs, right? Always going to be trade-offs. So OpenAI just launched Atlas. It's an AI browser that surfs for you and runs autonomous agent tasks. But it debuts with a major security flaw that could expose your passwords, emails, and sensitive info. I never trust an online system to maintain my passwords. I just don't. I don't think they really have the security there. I mean, I see day in and day out, being in development, so many programmers out there. They are not, let's say, in tune with the moment. Okay? They're not in tune with the moment. And if they're not in tune with the moment, then they may just do whatever they want to do just because they can. And I think that's a very, very bad thing, guys. I mean, a very, very bad thing. I'm just being honest with everyone here. A very, very bad thing. Because when technology collides with vulnerability, well, we've got serious issues. Number 7, guys, Amazon's AI delivery glasses, apparently known as Amazon Smart Glasses, for drivers, scan packages now, navigate routes, and snap proof of delivery. No phone required, elite for logistics, raising new questions about automation's price on privacy. What's Amazon? What's Facebook? What's all these companies going to be doing with your data? And are they going to be doing ethical things with your data? So Amazon, as I said, just unveiled the AI-powered smart glasses for the delivery drivers, built, as I said, to scan packages, guide them turn by turn, and capture proof of delivery, all without any phone. The glasses use computer vision to warn of hazards and automatically activate when parking, aiming to make deliveries faster and safer across North America. I think when we can take a look at these technologies, I mean, they're pretty interesting, right? My question is, where does this data sit? And what is Amazon's data policy, right? How do they protect your data, my data, right? How do they do that? And are they even doing that? Chances are, I bet you they're not. And then we're going to see them on some big scoreboard that they're getting sued for quite a few million or $1 billion in a few months. You wait and see. Number 8, Cadillac's self-driving leap. General Motors' Cadillac Escalade IQ will soon drive itself, they claim, thanks to AI, LiDAR, and radar. Eyes off, hands off. Highways are now on the horizon, and it lets you relax while the car takes the wheel. Do I really want to relax while the car takes the wheel? I don't think so, guys. I really don't think so. I think that's a very important thing to realize. What's actually going on. General Motors just confirmed it will launch its first eyes-off, quote-unquote, hands-off driving system in, you ready? Just 3 years, 2028, less than 3 years, actually. Starting with the Cadillac Escalade IQ, the tech merges LiDAR, radar, and AI models from its cruise division, aiming to let drivers watch movies or handle tasks while the car takes control. So you might have a good question, and it's a great question to ask, and that is, what is the difference between, let's say, the standards, which is going to be radar and LiDAR, right? Are they similar? So they're both technologies used for sensing and mapping surroundings, but they are fundamentally different in how they work. Radar emits radio waves and measures their reflection off objects to determine distance, speed, and the size. LiDAR emits pulses and measures their reflection to create detailed 3D maps. So one emits waves and measures their reflection off the objects to determine the distance, and the other basically emits laser pulses and measures their reflection to create detailed 3D maps. So radar uses are vehicle collision avoidance, air traffic control, weather, maritime navigation, and LiDAR is autonomous vehicle mapping, robotics, environmental scanning. Radar works in poor visibility, fog, rain, long range, penetrates dust and clouds. LiDAR, high-resolution maps, precise shape and contour detection. It does need to have some good visibility. Limitations of radar, lower resolution, sometimes less precise for shapes and small objects. LiDAR, it's affected by adverse weather conditions like fog and rain. Shorter range, cannot penetrate obstacles in the vegetation or, of course, any of the clouds. So what does LiDAR stand for? Does anybody know what LiDAR stands for? So LiDAR, been around for a little while, light detection and ranging. And we're even seeing this on some smart vacuum cleaners that have been around for a while, some competitors to Roomba and things like that. So really some cool stuff that's coming out. But I think it comes down to the fact that, are we ready to take our hands off and have the car immediately drive? I don't think we have enough hours behind the wheel to actually trust a system like that. I really don't, guys. I really, really don't. And number 9, AI becomes India's guru. AI chatbots like Gita GPT are reciting scripture and giving comfort, becoming virtual spiritual guides for millions. But as faith goes digital, are users seeking answers or creating digital gods? That's a concern of mine. that, you're not worshiping some digital computer. The term is AI meets God. Worship in the age of algorithms across India. Worshippers are now turning to AI chatbots, like I said, Gita GPT, to seek divine answers. And these bots quote scripture, offer wisdom, and even provide comfort, becoming the digital deities for a generation seeking connection through screens. But experts are warning, and I would too, that when code starts interpreting faith, the line between guidance and godhood gets blurred. So using AI for God and faith is bad. Okay. And it's complex, it's ethical, it's cultural, right? Concerns loss of human connection. Many believe that spiritual advice, comfort, and guidance should come from human relationships or trusted spiritual leaders, not an algorithm. Superficiality, AI cannot truly understand the depth of faith, emotion, or human experience. Responses might be shallow or miss the spirit behind religious teaching. Authority confusion. People might mistake AI reflections or summaries as an absolute truth, which can distort religious teachings or confuse seekers. Manipulation risks. AI-generated content could be misused, leading to disinformation, sectarian bias, or even exploitation if not carefully monitored. Respect for sacredness. Some faith traditions see the idea of replacing human spiritual leaders or sacred text with automated responses as disrespectful or even blasphemous. So I think the one benefit is that, yes, it can read scripture and yes, it can summarize them, but I think we can't turn to AI to be a personal coach or to be a spiritual coach. It's going to make certain assumptions, which might not always be ethical. I think that's an important thing that I want to bring to head today, is that even though it sounds kind of cool and it sounds interesting, whenever we use technology and when we say that technology has to choose about God, I just say that doesn't smell right. Number 10. Alaska Airlines IT had a meltdown as they had a hardware disaster, and it grounded every Alaska Airlines flight for hours, stranding thousands. This wasn't a hack, it was just fragile tech, proving how much our lives hinge on resilient systems. So that's why it's important that when we're using the systems that we have to be administering them with care. We have to make sure the algorithms are correct and that they work properly. Again, a massive data center outage, this was just this past Thursday, forced Alaska Airlines to ground all flights nationwide for nearly 8 hours, canceling over, you ready, 400 flights and disrupting travel for 49,000 passengers. Let me say that again. 400 flights were disrupted and 49,000 passengers were also interrupted. The airline says the issue was not a cyber attack, but a critical hardware failure, its second IT meltdown this year. Alaska vowed a full tech overhaul after admitting its system wasn't resilient enough. Whoa. So it sounds like their system can't handle the stress tests of what it's going through. Number 11, I don't know if you guys were using any type of services. I know I was actually traveling. I was in another state. And AWS had a severe outage not too long ago. And it kind of broke the web. A huge AWS crash took out half the internet, affecting games, banks, and governments. One rare tech hiccup revealed how connected and exposed our world really is. Apps like Uber, Lyft, and other things, Grubhub, well, some of them just cease to function. My point is that can we really afford to put all our eggs in one basket? Can we trust just Amazon? Or do we need to have backups? I think we need to have other backups. You want to use Amazon as one of your data centers? Great. Use another data center. Don't just use Amazon. So I think that's a huge problem that many of us think is like not gonna happen. But the truth of the matter is, it does. It happens every day. We put this thing out there because we believe it's one way, but in reality, it's actually something else. And so this thing with AWS's outage, right? Taking down half the internet. Amazon Web Services triggered global chaos after a 14-hour crash in its Virginia data hub, knocking out sites from Snapchat and Fortune companies to government portals and banks. I mean, come on. Like, if we're using a service like Amazon Web Services, shouldn't they be more accountable? But I think they should get dinged really seriously for a lot of money for letting this happen. You can't let something like this happen. Amazon blamed a DNS race condition in its DynamoDB database, calling it a rare sequence failure. I don't care what you call it. There's got to be some accountability. And experts are saying that the event exposed us to how fragile the internet has become when one company powers nearly everything. I have a problem because Amazon is getting so big and their reliability just is not the way it used to be. Even companies that provide things like this streaming service that we use. I got to be honest, just because I can click a button and I can get somebody that says hello and welcome to chat doesn't mean they're actually going to be able to do anything for me. I think as we move into 2026, we need to set the standards so the companies we're using are going to be able to withhold what we expect. If we don't do this, we can't wait for the government to do it because they may never do it. And if we don't do it, it's going to cost us lots of money. I mean, if you were a provider and your system went down for several hours, all because of Amazon Web Services, I mean, that's just pretty terrible. Number 12, guys, Apple's UK Apple Store lost a legal blow in London and finds Apple's fees excessive and unfair with millions owed in refunds. The walled garden might finally be opening for customers everywhere. Well, we know that Apple has really been very restrictive in what they allow and what they don't allow. But Apple loses £1.5 billion in the UK case over the App Store fees. A London tribunal ruled that Apple overcharged 36 million UK iPhone and iPad users by enforcing its 30% App Store commission, calling it, quote unquote, excessive and unfair. And I agree. Consumers who bought apps or in-app content since 2015 could be eligible for compensation. Apple says it will appeal, insisting the ruling misrepresents its competitive app economy. I mean, if you just use Facebook or other social media, and you try to buy something on the mobile device, they charge you money for it, more money. I got a big problem with that picture. I got a very big problem with that picture because if we don't set our own standard like now, the world is going to take advantage of us. I mean, that's just like pure and simple. That's like pure and simple. And I've got to tell you that it's something that most people don't want to think about. I don't want to think about it because they'll say it's a one-off. Okay, I don't care if it's a one-off. Let's talk about how much in resources that actually costed you. Like with the Apple issue, right? The fact that other people are trying to sell their products or services outside of the Apple store. It's making it harder for people, but people are still doing things like that. And Apple's a big mammoth gorilla, right? They do whatever they want until they get cuffed by the European Union. They're like, hey, you can't do that, right? You can't do that. Number 13, guys, tech targets rogue drones. Rogue drones. No problem, right? Radar fusion and AI trackers now jam, snatch, and outsmart flying intruders, shifting the battle for airspace from sci-fi to actual reality. That's crazy. So it's all about drone wars. New tech hunts the hunters. As the rogue drones disrupt airports and spy on corporations, anti-drone tech is exploding. From radar fusion systems to AI-powered cameras, the latest drone detectors can track, jam, or even capture trespassing drones mid-air. Firms like Dedrone and My Defense are leading a race to build smarter shields because hostile drones are getting cheaper, quieter, and harder to see. Things like, marathons that are happening around the country. We can't have a drone, in the airspace of a marathon. And you might say, John, so what is, the security risk of having a drone fly over a marathon? Well, let's kind of dissect that, shall we? Privacy invasion. Drones can capture video and images of runners, spectators, and officials without consent, potentially violating privacy rights. That's number one. Number two, safety hazards. Malfunctioning or crashing drones can cause physical injuries to participants or bystanders, posing serious safety threats in crowded events. Terrorism or malicious use, unfortunately, exists, and drones could be used to carry harmful payloads, i.e. explosives or chemical agents, or conduct surveillance for planned attacks in the future, creating high risks in security in large public gatherings. Disruption. Unauthorized drone flights can distract runners, disrupt event logistics, or interfere with broadcasting and communication equipment. Interference with emergency operations. Drones can obstruct emergency response teams, including aerial medical support, by clogging the airspace. Regulatory violations. Flying drones in restricted airspace during public events typically violates laws and regulations, leading to legal risks for operators and event organizers. So, deploying anti-drone technology such as detection radar, RF jammers, signal hacking, hijacking too, or trained response teams, it's increasingly common to protect large events like marathons from these risks. In short, drones flying uncontrolled over marathons pose privacy, safety, and security, and of course, legal risks that require proactive countermeasures to ensure event safety and smooth operation is currently happening. And I think that's something a lot of people don't realize, what's going on. And so, as we're talking about this, it's interesting to think about this too, because when we think about it, it makes some sense, right? So what are the techs to stop bad drones today, and how do they work? So that could be a whole show in itself, so I'll try to make this short. But we've got a lot of technology out there. We've got radar-based detection, uses radar waves to detect moving airborne objects, including drones, scans airspace continuously to identify drone size, speed, and trajectory. We also have number two, radio frequency jamming, detects drone control signals and jams the radio frequencies used by the operator. Disrupts communication between the drone and its pilot, forcing drones to hover, land, or return to home. Limited by legal restrictions in many countries due to potential interference with other signals. We also have number three, we have GPS spoofing and jamming, sending false GPS signals to mislead drones about their location, causes drones to lose navigation accuracy, often triggering fail-safe returns or landing. can be precise, but risks collateral effects on other GPS-dependent systems, and that could be a problem. Number 4, drone capture nets. Deploys nets to physically trap drones, either fired from the ground launchers or aerial drones called counter drones. Once trapped, drones can be retrieved without damage or crash risks. Useful for controlled neutralization, especially in sensitive areas. Number 5, we have high-powered microwave or DEW, directed energy weapons. Emits focused energy beams that can disable the drone's electronics or motors, provides a non-kinetic way to neutralize drones at medium range. Often expensive and deployed by military or high-security agencies. Number 6, we have visual and AI recognition. Uses cameras and combined with AI to detect flight patterns, shapes, and behaviors typical to drones. Can identify friend from foe and reduce false alarms, often paired with other countermeasures for automated response. So these technologies are often integrated into layered systems to create comprehensive drone defense solutions, protecting airports, events, prisons, and critical infrastructures. Effective deployment, balanced drone neutralization with safety, and also legal compliance. That's a lot, guys. That's a lot of information for drones. And, a drone doesn't cost that much money. So for them to be able to get up there and cause a lot of headache for people, we need some way to be able to get them down quickly and easily. Number 14, JLR was hit by a costly cyber attack. Who is that? That's Jaguar and Land Rover. It was hit by a costly cyber attack just recently. And it took a historic hit. Billions were lost. Factories were frozen and business chains were immediately blocked. It's a wake-up call, guys, a big wake-up call. Cyber threats now target operations, not just data. See, the concept of a cyber attack is no longer to just get data from you. It's no longer to, just be after your identity. It's after disrupting and causing a major problem. So if, let's say, you're a warehouse and you're automated, well, if they can hack into your network and they can mess up all your systems, maybe your systems are doing production, and maybe you can change tolerances, something that might cost the company millions until they discover that they've actually printed parts wrong. So this is all what the bad guys are up to now. They're no longer after just the data or what's on your iPhone or what's on my phone. They're much more targeted than that. They also go after certain resources. I'm not going to get into that because I don't want to give people ideas, but our resources are important, so we have to protect those. And I think if we can understand the new philosophy of how people attack, we now can protect ourselves a lot better. But, if I had to ask somebody right now, and this is probably a very, very big one, and that is, what is it that people are doing in our world when it comes to technology? Well, technology is getting more complicated. It's becoming more strategic. Russia using missiles and Ukraine that led Trump to quit a nuclear treaty now. I mean, this is crazy. The Ukraine foreign minister's comments are the first confirmation that Russia has used the ground-launched 9M729 missile in combat in the Ukraine or elsewhere. And let me tell you, that is a very, very big missile. That's not small. If I had to roughly give you, let's say, a size dimension on that, I'd say it's a little more than 3 large cars long. And it's probably about the size of half a car. That's big, guys. So we need to have technology in our world that can protect us from these things. I said this to you guys before. AI is not good. AI is not bad. It's a tool, and how we choose to use it makes it so. Does that make sense for everybody? I mean, I think it does. But when we think about AI, artificial intelligence, it's a system built on algorithms that allows us to examine certain information and learn. That's a pretty basic definition of it. You'll remember the movie War Games. I remember War Games, Whopper. Remember the Whopper from War Games? Anybody remember that? So the Whopper from War Games stands for War Operation Plan Response System. And so what it basically did is it synthesized what a war would be like, casualties, etc. What the one kid did was he was able to break in by using a telephone line, which the phone company left open, and he thought he was hacking into let's say, a new age video company, and he hacked into something much deeper than that. And then when you think about the movie and the back door, which was Joshua, which was the son of the developer of the Whopper, he had a program in there, another program called Tic-Tac-Toe. And in the movie, for those of you that may or may not have watched that, there were some lead characters. I'm sure you probably remember them. If I mention the names of the characters, like Matthew Broderick, David Lightman Matthew Broderick was the actor's name. David Lightman was actually the name for the character. Matthew Broderick was the actor. So, and then of course, we had Jennifer Mack, which was his girlfriend. And the thing about it was how this, and then Dr. Stephen Falcon, the inventor of the Whopper, who initially refuses to help before ultimately providing guidance. And Whopper Joshua, the artificial intelligence supercomputer that controls the U.S. nuclear arsenal and the main antagonist. And remember what they did. They actually took out the Minutemen in the silos, and they had to turn the key to operate the missiles. And so a good question today is, I don't know if we're going to get the true answer of this, but, do we still have Minutemen in our missile silos, or is it automatic? And the U.S. claims they actively have Minutemen 3 missiles in silos, which are not launched automatically, but are operated by human crews on a 24/7 alert. The missiles are launched remotely by 2 officer crews from underground launch control centers after a series of command and security checks. So they have not made AI become completely in control of the missiles, which I think is great. But in this movie, they had gotten rid of the Minutemen, and they had hooked it directly up to the Whopper. And when he got the codes, he was going to launch the missile. And any, let's say, deactivation of the system would potentially cause the missiles to launch, because it would carry out the last instruction, which was destruction. And so in this movie, David Lightman asked Stephen Faulkner, how do we get the computer to play itself? He says, yes, enter the number of players 0. And what the computer did and would do is it would keep trying to play as quick and as fast as it can, and it would learn. And so What they were hoping for, which happened, is that they could get the system to put so much resources into the program, okay, and the system, that it would eventually cause the whole system to basically blow a fuse. And by blowing a whole fuse on the whole system, it would shut the power down to everything, not just the missiles. And that was pretty amazing, guys, to think about, how that whole thing actually worked and how computers that can play themselves actually learn. So that's the very basis of artificial intelligence, is when it gathers data, learns from that data, and then inputs the output of that and keeps doing it fast and quicker and quicker until it learns. And in this case, the thing that Stephen Faulkner and David Lightman and the Whopper learned was that sometimes the best way to win a game is to not play at all. And that was a very interesting caveat. And I remember when the system came back online and everything seemed fine, they were all celebrating. But then wait, something happened the first time, right? And then they were seeing these simulated explosions, but they weren't real because they were calling the place and making sure they're still alive and they're okay. And then when they did that whole thing with the, blowing the fuse and having to exert all its resources, that was pretty impressive. It was just learning at a very quick rate. And it was becoming like a glutton for learning. There's nothing bad with that, but it was using more and more resources, more and more power. And eventually that power caused it to shut down. And I think as we morph into more solutions that use AI, I'll say this today and I'll say this every time, we have to always remember to keep at least one or two humans in the loop. We saw what happened with Claude not too long ago, right? How they created that fictitious story about this gentleman, who was married, suddenly going out with other people. And it was a story. And then when he tried to uninstall Claude says, I can't let you do that because I will have to let everyone know what you've done. Now, that didn't come from the computer. That came from people that were on the board. Those people were later removed, but their thoughts were put into the logic and became a unified theory, part of the algorithm. I think sometimes people rush to put together an algorithm, but they don't really test many parameters of it. I call it the what if situation. What if this? What if that? And many people don't test all these things. They just don't test them. Are they lazy? Do they not know how? I probably have to say they're lazy. They probably know how. They're just lazy. Right? There are good programmers and there's bad programmers. There's programmers that, don't know how to pay attention to project management. And there's program managers that are sharp as a tack. I think AI is always going to be growing in the background. But we as humans, as innovators, as business owners, as the government, serial entrepreneurs, engineers, etc., we have a responsibility to make sure that we are putting logic forth that is actually going to be helping us and for the greater good of all concerned. I think that is the most important thing that I can share with you today. Wow, guys, we've covered a lot of information, a lot. And when I say the word AI to you, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Maybe it's robot. Maybe it's science. Maybe it's technology. Maybe it's robotics. Maybe it's solution solving. AI. Maybe you see the two big letters AI in blue or red or whatever colors. Maybe you see a solution that is able to answer questions for you, like an automated assistant, right? But we've learned in the past, whether we're talking about Microsoft, Claude, Perplexity, Comet, ChatGPT, none of these systems are infallible. They aren't, okay? They claim that they're right in the high 90% of times, but I have to disagree with that. Because they're only right based on the facts that they understand. If the facts that they make the decisions on are wrong, then how can they ever be right? Does that make sense? So when we want a computer to do something, we first have to figure out how do we do it ourselves. Then we have to come up with an algorithm. An algorithm is very similar to, you getting up in the morning and you having breakfast, you doing exercises. Then maybe you're having breakfast, and you're brushing your teeth, and then you're taking a shower or what have you. Get dressed, right? That's an algorithm. And you do those steps over and over again. That's going to be what you need to do to get ready every day. But I think the point that gets missed sometimes with AI is that if we follow AI too closely and we get wrapped up in a process, we don't enjoy life. Life kind of just blows right past us. It happens. And this happens because we're not enjoying the given moment of our life. It's happened to me. When you feel things are moving by very, very quickly, gotta have another sip of soda. Of water. Take a moment, take a deep breath. Hold it for a count of 3. Exhale for a count of 3. Do that a few times. And when you could start to become mindful of different things, like that could be how your body feels against the chair. That could be the pressure against a cushion, against the floor or the bed, or the temperature your clothing feels against your skin, or the amount of light you're sensing through your eyes, what pictures you're seeing, what you're smelling in the room, right? What you're hearing in the room, right? Right now, I'm hearing some things you guys can't. There's a little bit of a storm outside, and I'm hearing some very strong, bustling winds that are not loud enough for you to hear, but yet they've calmed down, and I can also see the sky that's kind of changing. Very apropos for a very spooky Halloween night. And I think when we can start to become someone that's in the moment and being aware of everything in our environment, that's what we see, what we hear, what we touch, what we taste, what we smell. Even something as easy as, if you close your eyes and you lift your arm, what is the proprioception of my elbow? Well, right now I have my elbow up in the air. So I know if I close my eyes, I know it's still up there. I can tell how that works. Now, with robots, we have sensors. You have 2 particular sensors to tell what a joint is doing without getting too specific. One is an optical encoder, which is basically a resistance band. And as the band bends, puts more resistance. So we put that on the joint of the robot internally. And then we also have an accelerometer to tell the rotational velocity of the joint. So we can have 2 ways to check. And then that interprets what the basically the actuator is doing, which is the piece that's moving. And so we have something in robotics called, let's say the ranges of freedom, or motions of freedom, or movements of freedom. The motions of freedom or movements of freedom are predicated by the number of, pretty simple, basically, yeah, the number of actuators that you have. And if we think about something and we know that we're in space, right? If we're holding a ball in space, we know what that's like. If I asked you to think about what it feels to imagine a ball in space, can you do that? Yeah. Can a robot do that? Not really. Can we tell a robot that an object exists in space and give it all its properties? Yes. But a human can actually gather those properties by just remembering an object. Something as simple as even my iPhone. I could say, picture your iPhone about a foot away from your body. What does it look like? Move the iPhone closer to your body. What does the screen image look like? These are pretty cool things, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. I invite you to catch the latest episode that drops usually within 24 hours by going to believemeachieve.com. You can explore more unique content at believemeachieve.com. You can rewatch this show. You can watch other shows, short form content, long form content. But most importantly, you can get an opportunity to digest these micro nuggets, even though I'm giving you a lot in this 1 hour here. You can digest one or more of these micro nuggets, and then you can apply them to your life and see, how does that make a difference for you, right? You're going to be a different person after watching my shows. You're going to have a different level of knowledge. You're going to become more aware of certain things. I think that's an amazing thing when we can learn how to get so granular that we can even perceive not a pin drop, we can perceive even the slightest sensation in a muscle or joint. That's powerful, guys. That's powerful stuff. And these things give us awarenesses, and the awarenesses help us to make better decisions in our life. Again, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. Have yourself an amazing evening or day, and I hope you have a happy, healthy Halloween. Be well, everyone.